All right, guys. Trey and Dylan are coming up first. I'll let them go one and two, either or order, and then Mikhail will be last, and then Paul. Okay, let's go first. All right. Okay, we'll have Trey up first. Stand back.
Hey, Trey, this is Glenn West here with LSU Country. Hope you guys are doing all right. I guess just first off, just talk about this first opponent for you guys. I mean, Coach was talking about the pitcher yesterday and how unique of a pitcher he is. I mean, just how prepared do you guys feel for that matchup tomorrow?
Right. I mean, he talked to us. He gave us what we need to do in the box as approach-wise. We're going to try to let the ball get deep, not try to do too much, go the other way, middle the other way. As long as we don't try to get big, we should get to this guy.
Hey, Trey, Doug Mouton at WWL TV in New Orleans. The fact that you guys maybe weren't sure if you were getting a bid, do you feel like you have a different appreciation for being here, like almost getting a second chance?
Oh, definitely. I mean, sitting in that room, waiting to hear your name, that was a tough feeling. But once we heard our name, that's the only shot we needed. Now we got to come out and play every game like we deserve to be here. Like it wasn't just a fluke that we're here.
Trey, y'all have been spending a lot of time on artificial turf here lately. How ready do you feel for that kind of a field all weekend, having played it a little bit like with Kentucky, but, obviously it's not what you're necessarily used to?
Definitely. I mean, it's not that big of a change. The hops are just a little bit truer. But as long as we can adjust, we got to play good defense behind Landon because this team puts the ball in play a lot. So as long as we make our plays, we should be good.
Hey, Trey, I'm curious as to what maybe the message has been from some of the older guys that have maybe been in the postseason before to some of you younger guys who haven't experienced that yet. I mean, just what have they kind of told you about what to expect with this tournament in particular?
They told us a little bit about how quick these games go by, how you can blink your eyes and it'll be the seventh inning. So you got to go out there and play every pitch hard because really that could decide the game.
Trey, Coach said that their starting pitcher was going to be kind of crafty and, all arms and legs is how he described it. Does that mean you need to be a little more patient at with your approach at the plate? Or do you feel like if you're fastball hunting, you can't miss the one that he does give you?
I mean, definitely the way this guy pitches, we're going to have to be a lot more patient. We can't try to go up there and hit the big fly. We got to just try to pick him apart. And as long as we do that, we should have a good day.
Just continuing that, is that a little different, kind of having to adjust your style, but maybe you're going to need to go station to station this weekend to kind of play the ballpark, play the opponent?
It's going to be a little different, but it shouldn't really affect us much. I mean, as long as we go in there and do our job, every batter goes in there and does what we're supposed to do, we should be all right.
Thank you.
Right, how excited are you to be able to show what you can do? I'm guessing this is why you came to LSU, to be on stages like this, right?
Definitely. I mean, going out there playing in the postseason, that's really what you look forward to. So I hope to go out there and I'm going to go play my hardest. Our team, we're going to play our hardest, and hopefully we can get a couple wins.
Trey, how much did that kind of extra rest there? I mean, obviously it was, I guess, a little bit of a silver lining there. You guys leave Hoover early, but you guys get some extra rest as well. I mean, just how beneficial was that kind of extra couple days there to kind of get your body to regroup and all that?
I mean, those days were definitely big for us. We got a couple of our key guys back. We're coming up here with a healthy lineup, and when we're healthy, I know that we can play with the best teams in the country. So I'm very confident.
Troy, Coaches Mainieri discussed, after his decision that it was not about him, going out. How much motivation will you and the guys between now and tomorrow discuss wanting to send your coach out the right way, not obviously leaving Oregon without a regional victory?
I mean, definitely he's going to say that because that's just the guy he is. but we're going to go out there and we're going to play for him. We're going to play hard for him, win these games for him, because we want to send him out on a high note, definitely.
Sorry, I jumped on here late. Did you discuss at all your confidence in Landon and him getting the ball in game one and your ability to kind of go play, solid defense behind him?
I'll touch on it a little bit again. I mean, yeah, when Landon goes up there, we know that we got to give him some run support. We didn't do that last time he pitched. We're going to go out there this time and hopefully give him some run support. This team, they're going to put him in play a lot, so we got to play great defense behind him and keep the score low like he always does. And we got to add some runs, try to put them away early.
Tre, kind of a follow-up to a question you just asked a minute ago. Coach Mainieri, like you said, didn't want to make this week all about him, but at the same time, there's a graphic looming over the scoreboard throughout practice this week thanking him for everything that he's done. How has he kind of balanced with you guys, that approach, not making it all about him and everything at the end of his career, but at the same time, that being a very real thing right now?
Right. I mean, he tells us in our huddles that we should play this game for us, for our experiences, because he's had all these experiences. But even though he's had those experiences, we want him – we know that this is last year, so we want him to leave on a high note.
Tre, have y'all talked to Zarni at all? Paul told us yesterday that he had committed to Oregon before their coaching change. Has he mentioned that at all? Y'all discussed it?
Yeah, we cracked a couple jokes in the huddle about it, but we didn't really harp on it too much.
Gotcha.
All right, we're going to let Tre go.
Thank you.
All right, we have Dylan up next. Go ahead with questions.
Hey, Dylan. This is Glenn West here. I mean, we were just talking with Tre about it, but for you as well, I mean, you're out in the outfield with, Giovanni and Gavin. I mean, just how big do you think it was for your outfield there to get those two guys, back? And it sounds like they're 100% healthy moving into this weekend.
Yeah, it's great getting Gio back in the outfield. I know he can track the ball down very well out in center field, so it's good to kind of put all the pieces back together and kind of the way it was early on in the year. So, it's like I said, it's good to have him back.
Dylan, how much have you guys talking about your approach at the plate in game one here with this pitcher and trying to figure it out as the game proceeds? Because it looks like he's going to, be tricky.
Yeah, that's been probably our top topic since for this game coming up is our approach to this guy. Because, I mean, the stats say that he, he's a very effective guy when he gets on the mound, but he doesn't have the brightest stuff, I guess. So, really our approach is just using the big part of the field. Middle is the opposite part of the field for our guys. And, again, like Tre said, not to do too much. And really just put the ball in play, let these guys work. Because, I feel like at the end of the day, we're a better ball club, and, we just got to do what we got to do.
Hey, Dylan, just one more for me. Coach Mainieri was talking about how this is a very disciplined offensive team that you guys are playing tomorrow, and that you guys are going to need to be pretty sound behind Landon on defense. I mean, just how much has that been stressed over the last couple of days, making the routine plays and being there, whenever he doesn't get like a big strikeout or something?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? There was a car behind me.
Yeah, sure thing. So just defensively, I mean, Coach said that this offense you guys are facing tomorrow is a little bit just more conservative, and they hit for contact, and just how important it's going to be for you guys to play great defense behind Landon tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very important. We know that Landon's going to perform up there. He's going to do what he does best, and like I said earlier, we're gonna, now that we have the pieces kind of back together, Gio in center and me and right and Gavin in left. We know that these guys are gonna put the ball in play. They're very scrappy. So Landon's gonna perform, and when the ball's put in play, we're gonna make those plays and do what we do best.
Hey, Dylan, you've had the team's had less than a week to kind of process, the information with Coach Mainieri's decision to step down at the end of the season. Obviously, there was a big reason why you chose to come to school was because of him. Can you talk maybe on what the emotion can be like from a player's perspective to, push you over the edge in this weekend, possibly just to do your best, obviously, to help him extend his career?
Yeah, it's very disappointing, for what he's going to do after this year. Obviously, he's going to retire. So it was a big decision for me to come here and play for Coach Mainieri and everything like that, and play under his wing and play for a great team like this. But it doesn't change my focus really. At the end of the day, I'm going to go in and play the same game I always do, and I have no intention of leaving at all. So I'm going to stay here and do what I do best for 3 years, and I'm going to go out there and leave it all I got on the field, and we gotta take one game at a time. Our focus is just to win every inning, and do this for Coach Mainieri for his last year.
Dylan,
Hey, Dylan.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Dylan, has it been a big adjustment having to get ready to play ball on the West Coast?
Not really. No. I mean, it's kind of the same. I mean, I'm really far away from home, but it doesn't. When you get on the baseball field, it doesn't really change anything. I mean, we got turf field here now, so we got a lot of reps out at the JUCO yesterday, and we're gonna get some more reps here today on the turf field and kind of adjust a little bit. So, I don't think it's that big of an adjustment. We're gonna go out there and do this.
Dylan, kind of a follow-up on Coach Mainieri. He said, how this week he doesn't want it to become all about him, but obviously it's very real that his career is going to be ending. How has he handled that, sort of addressing that with y'all when, he wants y'all to be able to focus on what you have to do, but at the same time, there's a graphic looming over the stadium when you're practicing, thanking him and that kind of thing. How has he sort of handled that with you guys?
He's handled it very well, and our guys have handled it very well too. I mean, obviously we know this is going to be his last year. But we're going to go out there and, play for us and play for him, most importantly. So, yeah, we're just going to go out there and do what we do best. But, we know in the back of our minds that this is going to be his last year. And, we're going to leave it out on the field.
Any more questions?
I have one more for Dylan. Scott Ravelli from The Advocate. Dylan, the Georgia game was one of those games where you didn't have a couple of pieces in the lineup, and now I'm sure you've had a lot of games like that this year where one player or another was missing. Now that you said you feel like y'all had a chance to rest, you have the pieces back. How confident are you that when you are that whole team that you know you can be, that y'all can play and win against a lot of teams out there?
Yeah, no, I'm very confident. Like I said, we got a bunch of our pieces put back together now, a bunch of guys back in our lineup. I feel like when we have everybody, we're a very dominant team and we can beat anybody in the country. We just got to do what we got to do best on the field, and that's hit and, stick to our approaches at the end of the day and not leave that. We know that Landon and, our starters are going to perform, and, it's just, it's up to us, our hitters, to, put the balls in play and do what we do best out there and, stick to our plan and our approaches. And we know how we're going to attack this guy, and we're going to stick to it.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Mikhail is next, and then it'll be Coach. Y'all can start with questions for Mikhail.
Hey, Mikhail, this is Glenn West here. So obviously it's now been, a couple weeks since, most of the pitching staff has gone out there and been able to perform in live action. I guess just talk a little about the ways you guys have been able to stay loose and stay, focused ahead of this obviously important weekend for you guys.
Well, every day at practice, we pretty much are resharpening our skills, going out there, long tossing, making sure we get off the bump to stay mentally prepared to go into a game time situation. We also faced a couple of hitters in the past week, so just doing that and envisioning us going into a real time game situation, it's worked out a lot over the past week for us.
Michaela, how are you approaching it? I mean, this is kind of exciting because you could get the ball in game 2, you could get the ball in game 3. Little anticipation for you?
No, the stakes is pretty
pretty high compared to the past few weeks, but the mindset is staying the same. I'm just trying to take it one pitch at a time, 1 out at a time, 1 inning at a time. And by doing that, I feel like I've had the most success instead of thinking about the future, thinking about the present, and making sure I live in the moment and do everything in my power to put the team on my back and get us a win.
What do you attribute to your resurgence? Is it just being healthy and confident? Is it as simple as that?
That's been my mindset for a while now. So yeah, pretty much just stay healthy and have faith in my abilities, and that's worked out a lot.
Obviously, Mikhail, you were on such a run there for the last month of the season. Do you wish that was it good to have some time off for you, or do you almost wish that you'd been able to just kind of keep that roll going?
Obviously you want to keep that roll going, but sometimes things don't work out how you plan it. So I've just been trying to stay consistent in what I've been doing to make sure that I lengthen the season and keep us in good standings.
From your perspective, what is it that makes Landon special? What has he done well all year?
He's been very consistent. He stayed healthy throughout the whole year. He hasn't. He's made big time pitches in clutch situations. He's came through whenever there were minor aches and pains in the bullpen. He's just been a bulldog all year. He knows how to pitch to hitters. He understands the philosophy of pitching and what it means to be a bulldog on the mound.
What is that? Have you heard anything about how that ballpark plays? Does it play big? Pitchers have a chance there, or is it a little bit smaller?
I haven't got around to asking that, but I'll find out pretty soon.
Mikhail, were you on that 2018 team that went to Corvallis?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay, I guess now that you're back playing ball on the West Coast, back in a regional in Oregon, what kind of lessons do you take from that to apply to this situation?
Well, just watching overall the 2018 season, we had a lot of arms down in the pen and some starting arms. We were having to adjust a lot and couldn't really get into a good pitching rotation. But understanding how that regional went, there's a lot of lessons to be taken from that. You have to play in the moment. You have to go in there with the mindset of we have to hop on this team early and use every bit of the bullpen piece by piece, no matter how long it takes to secure a win. And I think we did that pretty well for the most part the first half until we got deeper into the regional. We didn't have as many arms that we could look to. Me being out and AJ and a few other people. It was pretty tough.
Mikhail, everyone's focusing on this being Paul's last season, but assistant coaches don't normally get carried over. This is AD's last year, Nolan, Eddie's likely, all their last goes here as well. What has AD meant to the pitching staff and to your maturation?
Could you repeat that?
Just what has AD meant to you as a pitcher kind of coming up and with this likely being his last year as well?
Well, me growing up, I haven't had many pitching coaches, but AD being my second pitching coach, it means a lot. Learning a lot from a great. He has a lot of experience in the game, and just learning from him over the years, it's actually more than a game when it comes to AD. It's about life and how you carry yourself. And applies to the game. So just being around him and soaking in his knowledge of the game, it's been amazing. And I can say that for the rest of the pitching staff too.
Thank you.
Mikhail, you've obviously got a long relationship with Coach Mainieri, going back to recruiting you out of Central. Can you share just what's just how it's going to feel like going out this weekend and hopefully you try to give your best for your team, but obviously this guy means a lot to you and you want to send him out as well on a good note.
Yes, sir. growing up and being born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I've grown up watching Skip and Mainieri and seeing the great goals that they've accomplished. And I would love to be one of just have that mindset of knowing that I can go out there and contribute to the history of LSU baseball and Paul Mainieri's run. So it's pretty exciting. And knowing that my boys are going to be behind there to pick me up whenever I'm in jams or what have you. So it definitely does mean a lot being from Louisiana and being a Louisiana native.
Okay, I know we've talked about this sort of theme a few times this year with you, kind of things coming full circle. But like you said, you weren't available the last time LSU played in that regional in 2018. Is it sort of just surreal for you looking back on the arc that your career has taken over the last 4 years?
It actually has been pretty surreal. I think last week or 2 weeks ago when I interviewed y'all said that I was coming full circle, and I didn't realize that until y'all made that be known. And it's crazy, you know. It's crazy how life works and the opportunities that you're given. And basically, since I've started doing better and perfecting my craft and sharpening my skills, it's been a thought in the back of my mind, like this is really happening, and I got to make sure when that opportunity is given to me that I produce every time.
Has it sort of been rejuvenating for, I mean, I'm sure you grew up, hoping to maybe pitch in the, professionally someday. Is it sort of rejuvenating to have this at the end of your career, realize, that might really be a possibility for me again?
Yes, sir. It has been. I haven't tried to think about it too much, but it is a nice thought to just know that ever since I've been on campus, just going in and getting my work in every day and picking people's brain, it's gonna pay off in the end.
So
let's see that crazy middle finger again.
It's pretty long, man. I guess that's how I get so much cut on the ball.
That is nuts. Yeah, I love it.
Real, just a quick follow-up, Mikhail. So if it weren't for us asking, would you not have really reflected on that sort of full circle thing at all? Was it just because we're asking about it that it makes you think about it, or have you thought about it yourself separately?
I think y'all caught me while I wasn't thinking about it too much, but I feel like sooner or later it would have came around to me, or my parents maybe would have said they like to say things like that, especially being the things I've done in high school. I said, you coming full circle, you've already done this before. Just know that whenever you're given this opportunity, that you make the best of it. So I feel like I would have sooner or later got around to it, but y'all definitely helped me with that and realizing that.
Any more questions from Mikhail? Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Have a good day.
We have Coach.
Hey, Ash, do you have it sitting on a stand or something? What's it on?
Yeah, it's on an ice machine.
Can you rotate it a little towards the fence, and that way we won't have a big shadow on them? Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And then unfortunately, gorgeous. Look at you, cinematographer. Perfect, just right there. Yep, looks great. Yeah, if he steps back away from it, I don't know, maybe the sound won't sound as good, but yep, right where he's at. That's gorgeous. Thank you.
Whatever. Okay, y'all can start with questions.
Is it okay if I leave my glasses on for everybody? It's a little bright out here.
Yeah, you're fine. Can you turn your left shoulder towards the laptop?
That?
Yeah, it's fine, Coach. Actually, you can stand normal. The shadows on your shoulder, it's no big deal. You're good.
Shadow on my shoulder?
Shadow on your shoulder.
If I turned it this way, no?
Nah.
Doesn't help?
No, you're good either way. You're good. Thank you.
Hey, Paul, Eric Olson with the Associated Press up in Omaha.
Hey, Eric.
Hey, I wanted to ask you kind of a general, for your observation. Congratulations on your retirement, by the way. I wanted to ask you just about your observations. There's a lot of talk coming into the season about how with fewer rounds in the draft and with the extra year of eligibility that came with the pandemic, that the game would be older and that the game would maybe, the play would be elevated a little bit this year because of all that. Was that true in your estimation?
I think so, yes, Eric. I could tell you in the SEC, I felt that the Southeastern Conference this year was the strongest I've seen it, and every year it's strong. But from top to bottom in our league, I just felt that the quality of play was as good as it's ever been, and probably the best it's ever been. You know, but from team to team, it was a little bit different. You know, we still ended up having to play some really young players, albeit they were really good players. They may have been the best players on our team. You know, when you look at players like Tre Morgan and Dylan Cruz, they were probably our two best players. And I think that was attributed, quite frankly, to the fact that the draft was only 5 rounds. Those players may not have come to school had it been a longer draft. Not that they would have been drafted later, but I think because it was only 5 rounds, the organizations went more with college players than they did with high school players in the early rounds, and that forced more young players into college. And so we had, I think, more high-level young players. But I think players like A.J. Levis and Devin Fontenot, for example, on our team probably would not have been in school had there been a normal draft last year. And when you went around the league, there were a lot of older players that, you know, you were surprised to see them again, that typically they would have gone into professional baseball. So I think collectively, when you look at the big picture, there's no question that the quality of play was at a higher level this year because of the shortened draft last year.
Well, one follow-up, and you kind of touched on it. On the schedule that you guys played, as you looked out of the dugout, were there any particular teams that really this showed up a lot, that they are older and using that experience?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't, my mind's not clicking right now thinking specifically about those teams because my focus is looking forward to Gonzaga on Friday. But it seemed to me that Ole Miss, for example, had a really veteran team. Texas A&M had a really veteran team. Thought Arkansas had a really veteran team. You know, they just, you know, a lot of the better teams in the league seemed their lineup-wise just had a lot of veterans playing for them. We did not. You know, we were starting a lot of young players, but I think, again, that was the result of the short draft. You know, some of our best players were our young players. Jordan Thompson, our shortstop, was a freshman. Brody Dross played quite a bit. He's a freshman. But we had a couple of players signed last year as undrafted players, which kind of caught us off guard. You know, we didn't think, you know, players necessarily would have signed, you know, as undrafted players for the $25,000 limit, but yet a couple of players did. I don't blame them. They were a little bit older than a typical junior. So, you know, they ended up taking the opportunity and going, but it just made us become very young compared to our peers in the league.
Thank you.
Hey, Paul. Doug at WWL TV in New Orleans. I want to ask you one question about Tre Morgan. You've had a million great players. What is it about him that's special? And would it be safe to say that as young as he is, that he will grow into power potential?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let me tell you, I've coached a lot of really great players, especially here at LSU. And I would put Tre Morgan right up there with all of the outstanding players that I've had here at LSU. He's special. There's no question about it. And I've told him that. He's one of the all-time best that I've had. I put him right up there with LeMahieu, with Bregman, with Duplantis, with you know, the very best position players that I've had. And he's just so so developed in his game. You know, not many players are as adept at hitting the ball to the opposite field or as willing to hit the ball to the opposite field as he is. You know, most players come up and they want to be so pull happy and try to hit home runs. But LeMahieu wasn't like that. Bregman wasn't like that. Duplantis wasn't like that. This kid is not like that. They're willing to take what the pitcher gives to them, and they hit the ball with authority to the opposite field. Makes them hard to strike out. And so they can hit whatever kind of pitcher that they're facing, whether it's a hard thrower, soft thrower, right-hander, left-hander. They get an idea of what the pitcher is trying to do to them, and they can adapt to what the pitcher is the way the pitcher is pitching to them. And Tre is right there with those guys. It's like an advanced approach that you just don't see out of a lot of 18-year-olds. He was well schooled before he ever arrived here to LSU. So that's him as a hitter. When he gets on the bases, he's got great instinct, and he's fearless. He wants to try to steal bases, and then he has great instinct in just running the bases. And then I've talked about his defense. Not a lot of young kids take the pride in their defense the way that he does. And he's a terrific first baseman. I mean, major league caliber first baseman, without a doubt. He's a tremendous athlete, and he takes such pride in it. So the last thing really that's going to come for him is going to be his power. Well, that was the last thing that came for DJ LeMahieu. It was the last thing that came for Bregman. Bregman didn't hit a lot of home runs at LSU, and look what he's doing in the major leagues. LeMahieu didn't hit a lot of home runs at LSU. Look what he's done in the major leagues. I think a couple years ago, LeMahieu hit 25. A couple years ago, Bregman hit 40. You know, there's no question in my mind that as Morgan develops body strength and more experience and so forth, he's going to be capable of hitting home runs. I think the kid is a future major leaguer. I think he's a future major league star, quite frankly.
Paul, do you see him at first base for his career? And secondly, do you think that he has a relaxed confidence about him? That's kind of what I see, but I don't know if that's accurate.
I think he is a first baseman in the future because I just think he's such an asset over there. But this summer, I want him to go away and play in the outfield, only to gain experience as an outfielder and to increase his versatility. Perhaps that will help him in the draft, but if nothing else, it'll just give him a little more versatility so a major league manager will know that he doesn't just have to pigeonhole him at first base only. You know, obviously he's limited what he can do as a left-handed thrower. So he should gain experience as an outfielder. I don't know how good of an outfielder he'll be. He tells me his speed doesn't translate in the outfield as well as he is as a base runner, but I think he's just kind of being humble. My guess is he's probably a pretty good outfielder, but he can always come back and play first base and play it marvelously. So, you know, I just think we played him at first base because to me, he was a difference maker there. And we had so many inexperienced infielders at second, third, and short that I thought he would save us 3 or 4 errors a game, which is exactly what he's done. So he was so valuable for us. We had to play him at first base. But for his sake, I think a little experience in the outfield is going to be good. But I think he's a major league first baseman. I told him I compared him to the former great Keith Hernandez. You remember, played for the Mets and the Cardinals. You know, he impacted games with his defense as well as his bat. And I know that's a big comparison, but I think Tre Morgan is that caliber of a player.
Coach, are you seeing anything, just looking at Oregon and Gonzaga, are you seeing a trend with some of these West Coast schools and just how they go about offense or pitching? It just kind of looks like a different style of play than what you're used to in the SEC. I mean, are you seeing anything there?
Well, you know, for years and years and years, the West Coast style of play was to do an awful lot of bunting, sacrifice bunting. You know, you remember when Augie Garrido was at Fullerton and then he took his game to Texas. You know, he was known for sacrifice bunting all the time. But Gonzaga doesn't seem to play that game, and a lot of the West Coast teams have actually gotten away from that. They don't have an extraordinary number of sacrifice bunts, and they don't really have an extraordinary number of stolen bases either. They don't have an extraordinary number of home runs. The ball really doesn't carry that well out here on the West Coast, especially when they play night games. So what I see them is just a very scrappy group of baseball players that know how to play the game. You know, like I said, we've got our work cut out for us. They don't strike out a lot. I think they use the whole field. I think it's important that Marceau doesn't get frustrated if he doesn't strike a lot of guys out. And I don't think he should try to strike a lot of guys out, which means he doesn't need to try to make perfect pitches to try to get to a 2-strike count where he can then put guys away, because all it's going to do is run his pitch count up. And I hope he pitches to contact, and I hope we make the plays behind him and have a little good fortune that they hit balls right at people, because if he can pitch us deep into the game and keep it as a low-run game, and we find a way to scratch our runs across their very good pitcher, you know, it's going to be a tight ball game, and we just got to find a way to win it at the end.
I saw that just looking at Oregon, they've only got one guy with double-digit home runs. Is that a comment on the park, or, I mean, is the air got more moisture out there so it doesn't fly as far? I mean, are we reading too much into that?
I think it's a pitcher's ballpark, especially at night. So they're playing the day game tomorrow. We're playing the night game. I haven't scouted Oregon that much because I'm so totally focused on Gonzaga for tomorrow. But the kid that has the double-digit home runs, I coached him in the summer of 2018. I selected him for the collegiate national team, Kenyon Yovan, and I selected him as a pitcher. He was a pitcher on our team. But then he developed arm problems the next year here at Oregon. It's funny because he told me all summer that he was a good hitter. And I said, yeah. Come on, Yovan. Just get ready to pitch. And then I gave him one at-bat that summer against the Cuban national team in the last game of the year. In the last inning, the game was one-sided. And he got up there and he took 3 mammoth cuts and swung and missed 3 times and struck out. And I gave him such a hard time after the at-bat. And now here he's got 14 home runs for Oregon this year. I texted with him the other day. I'm sure he can't wait to give me a hard time and tell me if I would have let him hit that summer, what he would have done for our team. But he's the only guy that's got double-digit home runs. So they're a pitching first team, and again another scrappy offensive team. But I haven't scouted him quite as much as I should have, just because I want to totally focus on Gonzaga first. We got to get through this team before we're going to play Oregon. Hopefully we'll play Oregon in the second game.
Does McHale have a better chance because of kind of that style of ball that you're alluding to? That you get a little swing and miss, or maybe they don't square them up as much?
I'm sorry. Is that Mike? I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
You broke up a little bit.
Does McHale have a better chance against that kind of offense? Step outside. I'm
not sure who we're going to pitch in the second game at this point. If you're trying to reel me in there, Mike, it's not going to work. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah. All right.
I've been around you too long. 15 years is a long time, Mike. All right.
That wasn't my intention, but he talked, so I figured he'll pitch eventually this weekend. So. Thanks.
You should know me better than that by now. Thanks for giving me a chuckle today, though.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I got one. Coach, being the fact that you were in the Corvallis Regional 3 years ago, kind of what have you kind of told the guys about playing, having to play on the West Coast, and what's some lessons that you learned from that regional that you can apply to this situation now?
There's really nothing to talk about. That was a completely different regional. We won 2 games out there. We just couldn't beat Oregon State. Oregon State was, the national champion that year, and they had an unbelievable team. They had 5 first-round picks on that team, including Adley Rushman, who I coached that summer with the USA team, and he was the number 1 pick a year later. He was the youngest player on that team. It was a completely veteran team of juniors and seniors. Adley was the youngest player, and he was the number 1 pick on the team a year later, the number 1 pick in the draft a year later. That was one of the best college teams you'll ever see put together. And we had beaten them 2 times the year before in the College World Series. And honestly, they were foaming at the mouth for another shot at us. And we had lost, Dykeman and Robertson and Freeman and Lang and Poche. I mean, we weren't the same club we were the year before. And they were, except a year older. And, we had them in the regional in 2012, and we had handled them pretty well. And we had beaten them twice in Omaha the year before, and now they finally had us at their place, and it was it was walking into the Lions' den. We had beaten San Diego State and Northwestern State, and we just didn't have the firepower to compete with them that year. So everybody talks about how it didn't go so well for us and how we had to travel across the country. The reality is they just had a much better team than us that year, and God bless them, and it wasn't our year. But this year is a totally different year, and like I said, we got Gonzaga first, and after we play Friday, we'll see who our next opponent is. And I'm glad it's not the Oregon State team of 2018. Let's just put it that way. That's not to disrespect any of the other opponents that we might play this weekend, but that 2018 team was one of the better teams in the last few decades in college baseball.
Paul, you guys have this is Scott Rabelais. All throughout the season, y'all have had this player go out of the lineup, or obviously you lose a pitcher like Beck or Hill or something like that, and you've had to adjust. And now you've gotten to the point where you've learned how to live without some of those pieces, and you've gotten some of those key pieces back. Talking to some of the players, they feel a little more confident. Like maybe they can, for the first time, show the kind of team that they think they should be. Do you have a sense of that as well in any way?
I would hope so, Scott. When you play 56 games, there's a lot of ebb and flow throughout the season, and this year as much as we've ever had. But players show what they have and who can be counted on and who's inconsistent. And I've been in this business a long time, as you know, and unless I just don't have any sense at all for what it takes to win, you start to figure out those guys that you can count on and those guys that you can't. And we're at that point now where I have a pretty good sense of what it takes and who we have and what our strengths are and what our limitations are. And the key is to put guys in situations that accentuate their strengths and kind of hide the weaknesses of our team the best that we can. That doesn't guarantee anything. The other teams are good. And at this point, you just got to go out there on a given day and give your team the best chance to be successful. And hopefully the young men that we put out there will go out there and play well. I mean, it sounds like coach speak, but that's really what it comes down to. And, we're going to motivate them the best we can, and we're going to go out there and let it rip and hopefully play loose and have a good night tomorrow night and then turn our attention to Saturday.
Paul, I got one more for you, if you don't mind. Just McNeese and Tech being in the I can't get a break from the noise. McNeese and Tech being in the tournament as well, the level of ball in Louisiana, how it's elevated, and I'm sure you're excited for both those guys knowing what they went through this season.
Well, I'm just so really proud of Justin and Lane and what they've done. Dealing with the devastation in those two communities with the hurricanes and the tornadoes and everything that those two gentlemen have gone through, and for them to keep it together and rally their teams and their communities. They're both just outstanding people, first of all. They're outstanding coaches. Their kids have shown remarkable resiliency. The life lessons that they have learned through this adversity that they have had to go through. It makes me very emotional to think about what their communities have gone through and their teams have gone through. And for them to be standing at the end of the year and having the privilege of being in the NCAA tournament, they both earned it. Both programs, both coaches, both teams have earned it. And I'm just so happy for both of them. I'm proud of both of them. They have done our state very, very proud, and I wish them nothing but the very best, as well as Southern University. I hope Chris and his team go to Austin and, represent well and have a great experience for all the kids, all the coaches, and I hope LSU does as well. But I'm proud of all the teams from Louisiana. Okay, let me go see if I can get our team ready. See you guys.
Thank you, Paul. Good luck.
Thank y'all.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
Quick question. So is this not going to be on ESPNU? Is that right? Do y'all know?
Which game?